Aujourd'hui, nous allons lire un verset du 10e chant.
Today we will read a verse of 10 Cantos, chapter 16, verse 7.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Sarpam Radam Purusharam Nipata Vega. Sanso Bitola Gavisho Shavasi Tambulasi. Parya Plutum Vishaka Sanja Bibim Sonaumi. Vam Vam Danum Shatamanam Tabarasya Kimta.
Translation. The water from this pond was already agitated by the waves of different colors due to the presence of the Kaliya snake and his poison. But when Shri Krishna, the Supreme, jumped in these waters, he submerged the banks all around, bringing it up until the area of like 400 knuckles. So this was not astonishing from the part of the Lord, who possesses infinite power. Purport. Krishna jumped with strength in the water. This created enormous waves, high with 400 hands, and it inundated all directions. These waves, these frightening waves, were colored in yellow, in reddish yellow, by the poison of the Kaliya snake.
Om Agyanati Milandasya Ganam Jalam Shalakayam Shakshuru Meditam Jena Taismei Shigolave Namaha. Namam Vishnu Padayam Krishna Pristaya Bhutare Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Sarasvati Devim Gauravani Pracharine Nilveshesha Sunyavadi Prachatyadi Shatarine Vanchakarpatarubhyacha Kiripasindubhya evacho Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jayu Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityanandam Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavindam. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare.
In the origin, the Kaliya snake was a great sage, but there was a dispute in between two great sages. This is related in the Garga Samhita, and the adversary sage cursed the other sage. Since you're like a snake, become a snake. And the other became a crow in the pastimes, the Lord. So they're not ordinary beings that can participate in the pastimes of the Lord. There is a planet, Nagaloka, where Garuda comes regularly to eat snakes. Garuda, Srila
Prabhupada
Prabhupada explains, is not vegetarian. But all snakes that he eats, he liberates them. This is the difference in between with an ordinary being. Just like when Krishna kills a demon, he liberates him. And so, for Garuda to stop eating snakes, they made a pact with Garuda. So I read the story very long ago, but it comes back to me now, by the grace of the Lord. And it was arranged that they were giving him offerings, and each family of snakes had to, at such time, make an offering. And Garuda, he didn't do the Kaliya, he didn't do the offering. So a great battle came out of it in between Garuda and Kaliya. But Garuda is very powerful because he is the transporter eagle of the Lord. And so Kaliya was trying to find shelter in different places. And finally, he took shelter in this manifestation of the Lord, Anantashesh. And Anantashesh gave him as information that in Vrindavan there was a affluent of the Yamuna. The Acharyas explain, if my memory is good, it is 36 or 33 kilometers large. So it's quite large. Huh? And in this place, Subhadri Muni, he meditated under the water. And when Garuda came to fish a fish, because all other fish took shelter in the sage, he cursed Garuda that if he will plunge again in these waters, he will find death. But actually it is a pastime. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that Garuda is eternal. So it is a pastime for the Lord to be able to perform this lila with Kaliya. So, naturally, Kaliya took shelter in this place because he was liberated from the fear of Garuda. But since he and his snake companions, who had a lot of poison, when they took shelter in these waters, the water became like boiling, red, green, blue, and for kilometers, no grass could grow. And even the birds who passed on the top, they will die immediately. So much they were toxic gas. Very toxic. And Sanatan Goswami explains that Kaliya, through his mystical powers, he took shelter in a cave, underwater cave, which was like a palace, because he lived with his spouses. He's not an ordinary snake. It is explained that Kaliya has thousands of heads. Sanatan Goswami explains that he has 101 main heads. And so, through his mystic powers, he had a palace inside. The water could not come inside, under the ground of the water. And it was, the Acharyas explained that this lake was very deep, like an ocean. They take this example. And in parallel, there was just one tree that survived. Because one day Garuda, he was drinking nectar, and a drop of nectar fell on this tree. tree because a tree needed to be there for Krishna to dive into the water. So there was just one tree left. Everything was destroyed. It was just like a cemetery. And so, Krishna, who is the liberator of the demoniac beings, because when he comes in each age, under a different incarnation, he comes for different reasons, and one of the reasons is to destroy the demons or the demoniac nature. So it is his pastime. That is why when he comes on the earth, in a universe, he comes in all universes. The Acharyas explain that he can even be simultaneously in different universes. Different conceptions are given, but he repeats his pastimes. There are just certain differences. And so, when he heard that these waters were poisoned, and on his land, so he desired to purify these waters and liberate the snake from this condition. Because although Krishna forgets his supremacy, when he absorbs himself in his sweet feelings of love and Braj, in the same way, simultaneously, he can be also conscious of everything. This is the nature of the Lord. This is very difficult to understand. At the same time, he can forget, and at the same time, he knows everything. It is something that can be completely bewilder the ordinary living entities. How the Lord can forget, it is something that is not possible, but at the same time, if he doesn't forget that he is the origin of everything, how could he absorb himself in love? And especially if his devotees do not forget that he is the Supreme Lord, the origin of everything, how could they take care of Krishna? So there must exist an energy that gives, and that simply, come. We're sharing the story of Kaliya. All glories to the young children. And so, when Krishna came in this place, he desired naturally to perform his pastimes. Krishna, he climbed on this tree, on the branch, and the Acharya explained that Krishna, he tightened his bun, his belt, and certain said he's he slapped his arms. Like a valorous warrior. I can't do it, but... And after he jumped into the water in a wonderful way. And the waters were reddish, yellow. There were green, purple reflections. The Acharyas explained it was very polluted, but as soon as Krishna touched the waters didn't have any power anymore to pollute. But this color with Krishna was very beautiful. Because Krishna, he is the origin of all arts, of all dances, all beauty, all sweetness. In everything that he does, it is heightened by the environment. And when he swims in these waters of all colorful waters, he has a beautiful beauty. This is a meditation. And so when he was swimming, the Acharyas explained, he was so beautiful. And when his arms and his palms was touching the water, it was making an extraordinary music that was spreading in the air, in the water. But Kaliya, because he was a demon, Krishna explains that the demons, the atheists, people of very low consciousness, do not surrender to him. The lowest beings, the atheists. And Sanatana Goswami explains for this reason, Kaliya could not appreciate because his intelligence was polluted. Everything that is beautiful becomes ugly. When the intelligence is polluted, everything becomes reverse. Although we are the soul, eternally in love with Krishna, we become against Krishna and we want his position. This was the position of Kaliya, because a snake is envious. It is explained that a sage, a scorpion, a snake, a snake, a sage, they don't feel compassion when it is trampled because they are envy personified. So of course, it is a way of describing this vision of the snake and the scorpion, but even great sages like Narada Muni, they are compassionate toward the snakes and the scorpions. But it is a way, an image that is given. And so, when Kaliya, because he came inside with such strength, Krishna, can you believe it? It was making waves of 400 meters high. So much the power of the Lord. Still, he is very young. He's so all beautiful, so sweet. But when he entered into the waters, it made such like a wave that the size of 400 hands of height like went overboard, overflowed. So he started to swim. And we can understand that when Krishna swims, how the waters are churned, because it was Krishna. And Krishna did that to wake up Kaliya. Kaliya was sleeping, wake up! And so in Kaliya, he heard these sounds. They were wonderful sounds. An extraordinary power of love. But he was, when he felt we were attacking his abode. And then the Acharyas explained, there was a great roaring that appeared in the air. Something extraordinary. And then during that time, the Sakas, Krishna's friends, and the cows, they were looking. And so the Acharyas, they explain why Krishna canceled the effect of the poison for not the cows and his friends to be affected. It is the reason why. And so, the Kaliya snake, when he saw Krishna, instead of being attracted by his beauty and sweetness, he developed hatred. This is the nature of demons, because they cannot be captivated by the beauty of Krishna. So of course, when we describe the pastimes in Mathura, it is described still that even the demons were captured by his beauty. But in this episode, the Acharyas explained that Kaliya, he could not even see the beauty of Krishna. He became envious so much. Already he was envious, he's a snake. Imagine, with more than 1,000 heads. A big envy. With twisted tongues and with eyes red like copper. He was frightening, Kaliya. Was really frightening. Those who saw little Krishna, already it's frightening. It's nothing. This is what a small ordinary being can imagine. The monsters that are in the pastimes of Krishna, they are extraordinary. We cannot, because this is the Leela of Krishna. Everything is extraordinary. And we have to be a devotee. when we become a devotee and we associate with the pure devotees, the sadhus, then we obtain the faith. And we feel this is the truth. All others, they think we're crazy. But a snake with 1,000 heads, but the guy, they're like really high up there. And then they're all like that, Jai Krishna, Jai Krishna. You killed this Kaliya snake. And the others, they say, they're completely crazy. That's why they dance like that in ecstasy, because they're crazy. And so Kaliya wanted to punish Krishna. And the goal also of Krishna was to give a special mercy to Kaliya. So when Kaliya, he surrounded with his coils Krishna, Krishna accepted that it was like a relationship of love. Just like a beloved embraced him. Can you believe it? The mercy of Krishna. He accepted that this Kaliya attack was like the attack of a spouse. Can you believe it? And this is the reason, the Acharyas explain that this is the reason why there was the mercy of Krishna. Well, of course, there are other reasons, because of his spouses, etc. But at one point, of course, because Krishna made the arrangement for him to be visible in the coils, and then his friends started to see Krishna suffer. Because Krishna, he showed a form of suffering to increase the love of his devotees. And at that moment, the devotees started to, lose consciousness, to fall on the ground, due to too much strong emotion. The cows were crying, they were calling Krishna. And at that moment, the Devas, they participated in Krishna's pastimes. Because Nanda Maharaj, Mother Yashoda, Rohini, different elder devotees, the gopis, they were far away. They were not conscious of what was happening. So the Devas participated in the pastimes by creating earthquakes, like trembling of the eyes of the body, that were announcing that Krishna was in a dangerous situation. So it was mystical. They ran. It's like a compass, love of God. It's like a compass. But there's this element, but also the land conserved, because the land participates on Krishna's pastimes. The earth contained the footprints of Krishna to give the directions to the Brajvasi. Can you believe that the perfection of Krishna's pastimes? It is extraordinary. And these footprints were full of all these symbols. Everything was perfect. They were shining. It was like the wealth of the land. And so they ran. And when they saw their Krishna like that, they could not live anymore. And Balaram on this day, he didn't go with Krishna. And when he came, he laughed. He laughed, Balaram. Everyone was in lamentation, extreme lamentation, ready to leave the body, but Balaram is laughing. He was smiling. But why? Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains, because when he had Kaliya, that was embracing Krishna, he said, he doesn't even do that with me when I am Ananta Shesh. And now he does that for an ordinary snake. Can you believe it? Can you believe it? And instantly, by the power of Balaram, all of their lamentation ceased. It's mystical. Just by his laughing, when the laughing entered in their ears, they stopped lamenting, and they were in bliss. Can you believe it? It is incredible. And at that moment, Krishna said, all right, because he saw his devotees just before in an extreme lamentation, so he said, I will liberate myself. So he inflated his body, Kaliya was suffocating, and after, the only part of the body of Kaliya that was straight, after the suffocation, was his shoulders. So Krishna used the Kaliya's shoulders to jump on the principal head, and then he started to dance. to dance in a wonderful way. But actually the acharyas explain it is extremely complicated to dance like that, on a head like that, with other heads that are trying to catch you. Krishna is the king of dancers. So he could perform an extraordinary dance in this situation, can you believe it? With an enormous, ferocious, with 1,000 heads that was snake that was trying to crush Krishna. And at the same time, he was chanting his dance steps. And the reason why Krishna was dancing in this way is that he wanted to attract the young girls of Braj. And Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur said that at that moment, they were at that time they were seriously falling in love with Krishna. So each time Kariya was trying to bite him, he was jumping on another head and he was performing a dance. But his dance was so sweet and at the same time so harsh on Kariya, because he was chastising each head of Kariya to the point that he was vomiting his poison. He was vomiting. A great Acharya explained. So it happens on different planes that he would have danced directly with the gopis on the head, on the heads of the Kaliya snake. It can be understood in two ways. Because Krishna, when he danced, he was manifesting the beauty of his dancing. And the gopis are the most expert in dancing. So we can understand that this dancing could be performed in two ways, in the heart and also on the head of the Kaliya snake. Because the gopis also, they could manifest, they could be manifested in the person of Krishna also. But the Acharyas explain that it happened physically also. All these are mysteries. So, at that moment it became extremely beautiful. Because Balaram, he had taken away all the lamentation. They were seeing Krishna in an extraordinary way. Krishna's dancing is something that is extraordinary. And so at one point, the snake was completely purified by the mercy of Krishna. We remember, he embraced Krishna. And at that moment, when he was purified, he remembered the glory of the Supreme Lord, because he was a sage in his previous life. And then he said, this person who is fighting, is beating me, is 1,000,000 times more powerful than Garuda. He is the Supreme Lord. And at that moment, devotion appeared in his heart. And mysteriously, Kariya, he had spouses that were devotees of the Lord, pure devotees. And when Kariya attacked Krishna, they were saying, may he die, this demon. But when Bhakti appeared in the heart, they went to save immediately their husband, and they came. And they offered prayers to the Lord, so that he spares their husband, because he had become a Vaishnava. Can you believe? Such an extraordinary Leela. And then they recited wonderful prayers. I will finish soon. And it is only once when his spouses enunciated prayers, recited prayers, that Kaliya recited prayers that were finally the essence of his spouse's prayers. His spouses were like his guru, finally. So this story is wonderful, because when we meditate on it, we can purify our envy. We're all envious. This is the nature. When we take birth as a conditioned soul, we are envious. As soon as someone will share a story better than us, will it be envious? As soon as someone has something more than us, we are envious. We cannot do any other way, unless we have purified ourselves by the mercy of the devotees of the Lord. Krishna, he has to dance on our head. It's really important. And at that moment, then we can become a Vaishnava.
Shri Krishna ki
Jai!
Jai!
Jai! Haribol!